مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير.
Distinguished and respectable ulama, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my honor and pleasure to be with you on this auspicious occasion. May Allah accept my coming and your coming for our salvation in this dunya and in the hereafter.
Amen.
My dear brothers and sisters, I have spent the overwhelming majority of my life lecturing in different parts of the world. I have reached a stage in my life where I feel that the Ummah needs to rise to the challenge or challenges of today. And unfortunately, the information and material that is available is so widespread and sometimes confusing that there's a saying in the English language that sometimes people miss the wood from the trees. We grow up as Muslims and we take for granted what we have, we practice, and we, as much as we can, and we think that's the end of it. But there's got to be more than simply gathering like this, praying or doing this or doing that. I want to present a very critical analysis to you today, so that even if a non-Muslim was to hear this lecture, he would know that Islam has much more to offer than a set of rituals and a set of codes designed to regulate human beings. Is there anyone in this hall who chose their date of birth when they were going to be born? Is there anyone? I take it from your silence that you agree with me that there isn't anyone who really has a say in when they're going to be born. Is there anyone in this room who has a say in where they're going to be born? Is there?
No.
You can speak, by the way.
No.
There's no restrictions on you. I've just been lecturing in Fiji 2 lectures a day and my throat is gone. So I'm not going to shout. Is there anyone who chooses and makes that decision?
No.
Is there anyone in this hall who chooses when they're going to die?
No.
Is there anyone in this hall who's going to choose where they're going to die?
No.
We don't know when we came, why we came. We don't know when we'll go, where we'll go. We don't know about our coming, we don't know about our going. And yet we lead lives like machines. We wake up in the morning, switch on, X, Y, Z, switch off. And we go through this rigmarole day after day, day after day, day after day. Of course, for those people like yourselves who live in the Western world, living isn't as simple as just living each day. We've got bills to pay. We've got targets to meet. And one wise faqih once told me that, you know, the beautiful thing about this rat race, this rat race, he said the amazing thing about this rat race is, wherever you are in the great rat race, you're still a rat. You see the person right at the bottom of the spectrum who can't pay his bills, who survives on a day-to-day basis, hand to mouth. He also says, I don't have peace of mind. And you see the one right at the top, who has so much money in abundance, but he also doesn't have peace of mind. What is all this really about? What are we doing here? We don't ask these questions. We've been trained not to ask these questions. We've been trained, shut up and get on with it, do what you're told, and we'll see. But no, there's a lot more to this. And specifically with relation to today, I attend ceremonies like this all over the world, and I see people come, hear lectures, they digest some information, and then they go, and that's it. So what are we really doing here? Are we just here for another lecture? Are we just here for worship, for ibadah? Well, I said in my lecture in Fiji, if the object of attending a milad is just worship, then there's many other things you could do that would accumulate worship, sawab. In fact, in fiqh it's written that if you kill a mouse, you get a reward of 2 nafal. Oh yes. Not Mickey Mouse, any mouse. Why? Because a mouse is obnoxious to human existence. So therefore, if you kill a mouse, it's conducive to the human cause. You get you get sawab of 2 rakat. If the object of our coming to this milad is just sawab, well, we may as well just start killing mice. Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's just a sawab accumulating exercise. I'm sorry to be so raw, but we need to start asking these questions. What are we doing here? Are we just paying lip service to a milad because we were born in a family that celebrates milad? Are we just paying lip service to our Aqidah because we were born in a family which belongs to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? What are we doing here? Who are we? Where did we come from? Why are we here? We could have been born 200 years ago. Where are we going? If you don't ask these questions, there's people outside who are asking those questions and who have constructed their lives around the answers of these questions which are different to your answers. And you may carry on like a zealot and just say, well, I'm going to do like a robot what I've been told to do, and I'm going to carry on, I don't care, my alim sahib has told me. Well, I'm afraid you need to wake up. Because in the world outside, people are asking questions. And your generation tomorrow may be quiet in front of you, but if you look at their lifestyle, it's not like the lifestyle of your forefathers, it's actually like the lifestyle of those people who are outside. And you're content, oh well, we attended milads and we go to Umrah and we pray our namaz and that's our chore, that's it. It's not it. There is more to this than this. And in my brief discussion today, I want to start the process of answering. I don't have all the answers to the questions. But at least let's use today as a platform to start asking the questions, not answering the questions, asking the questions. Why? Because the question is half of knowledge. If you don't have the question, most people in this audience who have grown up, they've been told, listen, don't ask questions, just do as you're told, and that's it. But wake up, you are living in a world where people are constructing their lives around their intellect. They are saying, if this water is clean, I will drink it. If it's not clean, you could call it Abu Zamzam, I'm not going to drink it. Sorry. So, I would like to use today's very brief discourse to start the process of questioning. And I know that sounds rather odd, because ulama tell you not to ask questions, they are designed to give you answers. Yeah, sure, I'm sure answers will come. But you need to start asking questions. What are you doing here? Where are you from? What are you doing? You don't know when you came, when you go. What is your object in this life? Let's pray to Allah today. Oh Allah, we're not going to get all the answers in this session, but let's start that process of critical evaluation in our lives. And look at ourselves in front of the mirror and say, who are you? Who actually are you? Do I know you? Or have I just constructed you around my designer wear because people say, wow, you're trendy, or because I'm garbed, because people say you're an alim, or because I'm tuned to what people say and I'm of a social class, or I'm of a social economic background and no one will touch me. All these are labels which are distracting us from asking serious questions about ourselves. And the Quran and Sunnah have all the answers, but the problem is we don't want to ask the questions. So let's start this process today by asking some of those questions. Before I start my discourse, I would like you to read Durood and Salam of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallam. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين العارفين وعلى أصحابه وأحبائه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقال الله عز وجل في شان حبيبه مخبرا وآمرا: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created this universe and regulated this universe with the law of science. Science dictates my life and dictates your life. But there was one personality which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created before the creation of this universe, that wasn't dictated by science, but dictated to science. And the name of that personality was Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you go to the shop and purchase an item which is a technical or which is technologically complicated, with every product that you buy, the manufacturer quite logically provides you with an instruction manual. Now, if you don't read that instruction manual and you suffer damage, injury, then tough. The manufacturer says, I've covered my back. Why? If you can't be bothered to read my book, then if you use what I have given you and you suffer, then it's your own fault. But you can only make a claim against the manufacturer if you have suffered a loss from the product in a way that the manufacturer has not covered in his instruction manual. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this universe, before creating this universe, He created the instruction manual of this universe. We store data in a database. Allah has also a database. He also has a computer. And the name of that computer is called Lawh Mahfuz. What is it called? Please say it loudly, I can't hear you. Or in biblical terms, the guarded tablet. Lawh Mahfuz. What will you have for breakfast tomorrow morning is written in the Lawh Mahfuz. How many hair you have on your head is written in the Lawh Mahfuz. How many particles of sand there are on this earth or anywhere in this universe is written on the Lawh Mahfuz. There is no data pertaining to this universe that is not written on the Lawh Mahfuz. And who gave all that knowledge to the Lawh Mahfuz? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through the wasila, through the medium, here was the database. Allah didn't just say, okay, give the knowledge straight away. There was a medium. And what was that medium? The name of that wasila, the name of that medium was called Al-Qalam. فَعَلَّمَ الْقَلَمِ. Allah gave knowledge to the qalam and said, Uktub, write. The qalam wrote. And the hadith, an authentic hadith, says, what did the pen write? فَكَتَبَ مَا كَانَ وَمَا يَكُونَ. The pen wrote everything. So, the knowledge of this entire universe was first given to the pen. And this is not like one of these pens here, where you just write. This is a different pen. Allah's pen is different. Inshallah, some other day we'll talk about what is this pen. But for your information, it's not like your average biro. Why? Because the biro doesn't move on its own accord. It needs an author to prompt it. But this pen is a self-intelligent being, self-sustainable being that has so much knowledge that actually not only received knowledge, but then transcribed that knowledge. So for فَعَلَّمَ الْقَلَمَ, Allah created the qalam. There is no knowledge of this universe that the qalam does not have. Baat samajh aa rahi hai ya nahi? I look at you and you're all looking at me as if this is a murder trial or something. For goodness sake, you can bring a smile on your face. This is the milad of the Prophet ﷺ. And by the way, you get sawab for a smile. Did you know that? When two people meet each other, 70 rewards are distributed amongst them. There's a hadith. How are they distributed? The angel comes when he says Assalamu alaikum, he says Wa alaikum assalam. Who gets more? 70. The one who has more of a smiling face. The angel gives him more. And if the person says, sorry, no, he can say, alright, just give him one for the record. Yeah, alright, you proved your point. Yeah, you said Assalamu alaikum. But the one who says it with a smile, Allah likes a smile. Allah's beloveds, they smile. Why? Because smile is a source of happiness, isn't it? We're here on an occasion of happiness. So this is not a murder trial. You can smile, by the way. What was I saying?
Knowledge of the color.
This is another way of finding out if you're actually following or if you're just saying Subhanallah. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no knowledge that the qalam does not have. فَعَلَّمَ الْقَلَمَ. And I'm not going to go into the grammatics of عَلَّمَ يُعَلِّمُ تَعْلِيمًا. He gave so much knowledge to the qalam. And the qalam has more knowledge than all the angels put together. The qalam has more knowledge than all the angels put together. Not one angel, not two angels. All the angels put together, and the qalam has more knowledge. فَعَلَّمَ الْقَلَمَ, and the qalam was the wasila. And then after the ilm was given to the qalam, Allah said, Uktub, write. So the qalam wrote, where? On the Lawh Mahfuz. Every single thing. Ma kana wa ma yakun. There is nothing of this universe that wasn't written in the Lawh Mahfuz. So this was Allah's database. Now, when He created human beings, cut a long story short, naturally, human beings are a very complicated species. Now, to guide them, He sent, when you have a database and you want to take some data from the database, nowadays you have what you call a flash drive. In the old days you used to have a floppy disk. Now you have a flash drive. Or, for those elders who are in this hall who don't like computers, you have a good old book, and a very thick book, and someone asks you to write a reference. So what you do is, instead of carrying the whole book, you just write a little bit of the book that you need, and you carry it. You don't have to carry the whole book. So we say this is an extract from the book. Allah wanted to guide human beings. The first extract from Lawh Mahfuz for the purpose of guidance that was sent was called, anyone know what that name was? By the way, is there food arranged after this occasion? I'm told there is food. So I know you may be hungry, but that's food for the body, this is food for the room. So, what was I saying? Marvelous. I think you've been put up by Maulana Nurul Hasan. He's told you I'm going to lecture for 3 hours. I hope this isn't a conspiracy. I'm not going to lecture for 3 hours. Have you seen my throat? Totally knackered. I ain't going to go on. I'm just going to do a little bit. But I just want you to bear with me. But what was the question? What was the first extract? The name of the first, if you pretend this is the Lawh Mahfuz, the first extract, the name of the extract was called the Torah. The Torah. Allah sent snippets from the Lawh Mahfuz. Here, guide. Musa, guide them. But in the interim period, some more prophets came. Now they wanted more, as society advanced, the need of man, because man is a very complicated species. Oh, including women, of course. When I say men, it doesn't just mean men. It also means women. Equal opportunities. Anyway, so Allah created a book, but then as man and his needs progressed, Allah sent more small items from the Lawh Mahfuz. So there was a book, and that was an extract from the Lawh Mahfuz, and then there was letters or little pages from the Lawh Mahfuz. In Arabic we call that Sahifa, divine letters, or plural is Sahaif. So Allah said Sahaif. So if you pretend this is the Torah, a Sahifa was revealed, added to the book, another Sahifa added to the book, another Sahifa added. A time came when this book became rather populated. So Allah said, right, I think we need a new edition here. So the name of the next edition was called Zabur. So the next revised edition was called the Zabur. Dawood a.s. was given, right, we need a revision, consolidate all the previous Sahifas and the book, and we'll have a new edition. Thank you very much. Go and tell them, this is what to do, this is not what to do. Finished. Now when Dawood a.s. came, society progressed, man advanced, needs progressed. So now a new edition was required. And Allah sent the next edition. And the name of that next edition was the Injil. So now when the Injil came, that was it. The Injil was the final testament, and it had addressed all the needs of human beings up till that time. But after the Injil, because man and society and the needs of man had progressed further, what was now required was a new edition. But this time, Allah didn't want to just send another edition which consolidated the previous. Of course it consolidated the previous. But now Allah wanted to send an edition which was the final edition. And this edition wasn't just for Arabs, or wasn't just for people of a certain geographical region, but it wasn't just for a certain time. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to say, it wasn't even for Muslims. I often ask the question, whose book is the Gita? Whose book is the Gita? Hindus? The Guru Granth Sahib? The Bible? The Quran? No. This is it. The Quran is not for Muslims. Muslims benefit from it, but the Quran is for all of human beings. So, the Quran now came for everyone. And the Quran was the final edition. But there was something that was different between the Quran and the previous books. There was something different. Do you know what that difference was? Do you know what that difference was? The difference was that all the previous books were extracts. They were, here's the Lawh Mahfuz, they were extracts, bits, snippets. The Quran wasn't an extract from the Lawh Mahfuz. The Quran wasn't a snippet from the Lawh Mahfuz. The Quran, my dear brothers and sisters, was a culmination of the entire mass of information on the Lawh Mahfuz in 30 chapters known as the Quran. It was not a summary form, it was the entire Lawh Mahfuz in 30 chapters. There you are. Here you are, here's the Quran, your guidance. But look at us today, where are we with the Quran? Pretend this is the Quran in our house. Put it up there. After namaz, I'll recite it. If someone passes away, I'll recite it. But otherwise, here you are. Thank you very much. End off. That's our relationship with the Quran today. Other than reciting the Quran, and then when you go and ask people, you say, well, why don't you find out the meaning of the Quran? Why don't you understand the meaning? They say, we can't speak Arabic. Do you think that by knowing Arabic you can get guidance from the Quran? Do you really think that? I'm sorry to say this. If knowing Arabic was the key to the Quran, then no Arab would walk on this earth misguided. You have Christian Arabs, you have Jewish Arabs, you have atheist Arabs, you have secular Arabs, you have all sorts of Arabs. They know the Quran. They read the Quran like reading a newspaper. For them it's very easy. Do you think knowing Arabic is the key to learning this Quran? But no. We think, oh no, हम तो फिजी में पैदा हुए, हमारे लिए तो कोई कुरान का पढ़ेंगे बस, तिलावत करेंगे, हिंदुस्तान में पैदा हुआ, कोई समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या हो रहा है, बस सुभान अल्लाह, माशाअल्लाह, बस कह दिया आलिम साहब ने तो बस ठीक है, हाँ. And the Arab looks at it and he says, I understand the meaning, but what it's really all about, man, I'm not interested. I'll leave it to the alim. You know what, he's trained, let him go and tell the story properly. Why? I haven't got time to go and check all the hadiths on this. I don't know what's going on. Allah is just talking about, it's just rules, do this, do this, do this, do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. Oh, and here's a story for you. This is what happened with Yusuf alayhi salam. Oh, and there's another story for you. This is what happened with Nuh alayhi salam. One story. And he said, oh, excellent, that's a lovely book. That's our book. And that's it, we go home. But that's not what the Quran is about. If reading the Quran was and getting sawab, reward from the Quran, was the only objective, then I don't think we needed the Quran. Why? Because we get reward from reading the Quran only for one reason. Why? Because it's divine book, it's the word of Allah. But then so is the Torah the word of Allah. So is the Zabur the word of Allah. So is the Injil the word of Allah. Why was the Quran needed if simply our object was recitation? Sawab or Isa alayhi sawab? No, that's it. That's what it's all about. And then we say, no, it's about salah, it's about namaz, roza, hajj, zakah. Do you really think Allah needs your namaz? Are you seriously out of your mind that when you stand there and say Allahu Akbar, you think Allah actually needs you? When you starve yourself from sunrise to sunset, you think Allah benefits from that? When you go to Hajj and go through all of that turbulence, do you think you're actually doing something for Allah? What's all of this hoo-ha about? What is it designed? Are we just filling the pot with more and more sawab, more and more sawab? Okay, let me ask you a question. Is there anyone in this world? Sorry, I'm asking very, very crude questions here, but it's very raw today because my throat is raw, so the subject is very raw. Is there anyone in this audience who thinks that they have done anything in their life that really makes them deserving of Jannah? Is there anyone who can stand up on the day of judgment and say, oh Allah, I have done this and I deserve Jannah? Is there anyone? Seriously, come on, tell me. Is there anyone? No. Oh, okay. Is there anything we can do in our life that will guarantee us Jannah? Yeah. Some cocky fella, he came up to me one day and he said, yeah, there is something you can do actually. I said, what? He said, I can become a martyr. I can become a shaheed. I said, oh yeah? You think it's as simple as that? Alright. On the day of judgment, a shaheed who is promised paradise, the angels will prevent him from going to paradise. And they'll say, hey, hang about, I'm a martyr. I'm a martyr. Paradise is written for me. Why are you stopping me from going? The angel will say, sorry mate, you need to settle your debts. And if your debts are not settled, you ain't going into Jannah. You may be free from Jahannam, but you ain't going into Jannah until your debts are not settled. So, the reality is, are we simply saying that is there anything that we can really do that will guarantee us Jannah? And I think if you ask yourself with a proper and realistic view, the answer is no. So how are we going to get to Jannah? Well, there's two ways. Baat samajh aa rahi hai ya are you just following? Palle bhi pad rahi hai baat ya waise hi? I don't expect you to say Subhanallah. Of course, if you say Subhanallah, it's good. But there's only two ways we're going to get off. Two ways, that's it, finished. No third way off the hook. Number one, Allah looks at us on the day of judgment and He says, you know, angels, let him off. On my mercy, let him off. On my mercy, let him off. Or, it could be on Allah's mercy, for Allah has so much respect for the person there. Allah has so much, no matter how big a wali is, no matter how big we think we are, we will stand in the dock. There is no exemption from the dock. The Prophet ﷺ used this finger and pointed at Abu Bakr Siddiqi and said, Abu Bakr fil Jannah. Abu Bakr will go to Jannah. But, ladies and gentlemen, Abu Bakr Siddiq will also stand in the dock on the day of judgment. Did you know that? Abu Bakr Siddiq will stand in the dock. And when he is presented before Allah, Allah will say to the angels, oh angels, why have you brought him in front of me? I look at his white hair and I have haya. Take him away from here. Why? Because this is Abu. But the fact that he will be brought there in the first place, due process is due process. So either Allah will say, okay, let him off, on my mercy. Or Allah will say, no. My haya says that he is of such caliber that he should be let off. That's one way. The other way applies to people like me and you. We don't really have anything of substance to offer Allah. But we have one thing to rely on. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Oh yes. Every Sunni knows this. The problem is, they know this and they exclude themselves from the rest. The intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, on the day of judgment, Allah looks at us, the angels say, he is damned, he's finished. Send him off to hell. But then in front of that sinner, The Prophet ﷺ stands and said, "Oh Allah, don't burn him. I stand on your behalf, or on his behalf, in front of you. Allah won't look at us, He will look at His beloved Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam."
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
ऐसी चीज़ों पे तो बहुत सुभान कहते हैं. But let's just examine this in a bit more detail. जो मर्जी गुनाह करो, जो मर्जी करो, हाँ जी हमें तो शिफात मिल जाएगी, कोई फिक्र की बात नहीं है. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, we should still pray to Allah for shafaat. It's quite right. But we know that we're not going to get off on our amal. So if we know we're not going to get off on our namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, why are we doing all of this? What's the object? Are we simply accumulating a pot of sawab? At the end of the day, we're not going to get off on our amal. We're going to get off on Allah's mercy or off the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ladies and gentlemen, there is more to this than meets the eye. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the Quran, and I have told you that the Quran is not a snippet of the Lawh Mahfuz. The Quran is the whole of the Lawh Mahfuz in 30 chapters. I just told you at the beginning of my lecture that what you're going to have for breakfast tomorrow morning is in the Lawh Mahfuz, isn't it? It isn't it? How many hair on your scalp is in the Lawh Mahfuz, isn't it? So why can't you pick up the Quran and find out how many hair are on your scalp? Mufassirin asked this question. But unfortunately, those Mufassirin who asked this question, they are Ahl Zahir. Their limit of their nazar is only to the Zahir of the Quran. They are mahroom from the batin of the Quran. So the question that should come in your mind, well, if the Lawh Mahfuz has everything in it, why can't we just pick up the Quran and find everything? Why are we fighting amongst each other today? Why are we misguided today? Why are there religions? Why are there sects? Why can't everyone just pick up the Quran and say, I know the answer. End of, finished. Why? Remember, all of the information is there. Sayyidina Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delhi and other Mufassirin of caliber, they say that the verses of the Quran have two dimensions. How many dimensions?
Two.
How many?
Two.
From the back, how many dimensions? One is the external and one is the internal. One is the external and one is the internal. So the external tells you, do wuzu like this. إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. Do wuzu like this. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. Read namaz on time. The external tells you direct commands. But the Quran in its knowledge is not limited to the external. The Quran also has knowledge in its internal. Then how do we get that knowledge? Now, before I come on to tell you how do we get that knowledge, I want to tell you something here. This book, I don't know who wrote it. Whoever. But the author did us a favor. In the beginning of the book, there's a page, it's called the contents page. If you want to know what's in this book, the author has made your life easy. In the olden days, they didn't used to have contents. Now, in the old books, they don't have contents. They expect you to know the contents. But most modern books, they have contents. They have a contents page. So if you want to know what's in the book, you don't have to read the whole book. Just look at the contents page. This topic, this topic, this topic, this topic. The Quran also has contents. What are the contents of the Quran? The Quran itself tells its contents. It gives its contents. Allah says in the Quran, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We revealed the Quran, O my beloved, upon you. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ. We revealed this kitab upon you. And what are the contents? تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It talks about everything. It talks about not milk cake. It talks about
everything.
Milk cake. It talks about
everything.
यानी कोई ऐसा इल्म नहीं है जो कुरान में नहीं है. It talks about everything. If it talks, the Quran gives its context. It talks about everything. But if it talks about everything, why can't we just pick it up, read it, and be guided? Remember, the Quran encapsulates, is encrypted of the Lord Mahfuz. But to decipher the Quran and the knowledge of the Quran, Allah sent Muhammadur Rasulullah. And the Prophet ﷺ had many roles, but one of his main roles on this earth was, the Quran says, in relation to the Quran, it says, لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَهُمْ. Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, your role لِتُبَيِّنَ, so that you can explain to people Ma litubayyina linnas, not lilmuslimin, so that you can explain to the Muslims. The Quran is not the monopoly of Muslims. Litubayyina linnas, so that you can explain to people ma nuzzilahum, that which was revealed upon you for them. So the Prophet ﷺ's role is to decipher the Quran. But in the day and age that we live today, we say that to read this book by the way, for those of you who don't know, is in Arabic. Now if I gave this to somebody in the audience and said, can you give a lecture from this book? I think the first question that I'll ask is, I can't even read the language. I don't read Arabic. Or, if this is a very complicated book, the first question people would ask is, I can read it, but I don't understand it, it's too complicated for me. Only an alim will read it. The Quran has knowledge of everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His beloved. Beloved, your task is to explain the Quran. So how much knowledge do you have? How much knowledge do you have? Thoda ya zyada? No, Allah says, Ar-Rahmanu 'allama al-Quran. Oh my beloved, I have given you knowledge of all the Quran. Just think for a minute. My father and your father, Adam alayhi salam, was given knowledge. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. And you know when Allah gave knowledge to Adam alayhi salam, He said to the angels, alright, you know what? Let's have a competition. You think competition is something that we created? Allah had a competition. Allah said, alright, let's have it. When you have a competition, muqabla 19-20 ka hota hai. You don't say, right, one man on the one side and 2,000 men on the other, and let's have a competition of knowledge. Someone will say, Pagal, how can you have a competition between 1 and 2,000? The competition of 1 and 1, maybe 1 and 2, maybe 1 and 5, no problem. But when the odds are stacked against you, are you asking for trouble? No. Allah says, oh Adam, stand here! And He says to all the angels, other angels on the one side, let's have a competition. Adam versus angels. All the angels. Jibreel was there. Mikael was there. All the angels were there. He says, come on then. ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Let's have a competition. And the angels didn't say, Ya Allah, Na'uz billah, hum jahil gawar hai, hum kuch nahi jante. We don't know anything. They said, no. قَالُوا لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. Yes, we have knowledge, but only that which you have given us. We can't take on Adam alayhi salam. There's no match. He outweighs us. He outshines us. He outpowers us. Why? Because the whole community of angels can't compete with the knowledge of Adam alayhi salam. And what was the parameters of his knowledge? وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. He only had knowledge of all the names. He knew the names of name. He knew the name. But Allah did not only give the names or the knowledge of names to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave knowledge of Quran. Al-Rahmanu Allamal Quran. And knowledge of the Quran. Quran has knowledge of
everything.
So it means Rasulullah also has knowledge of. It follows that Allah gave knowledge of the Quran, of everything to Qalam. Qalam gave it to Law. Law gave it to Quran. And Al-Rahmanu Allama Al-Quran. One question here. If you look at the sequence, Al-Rahman Allama Al-Quran. Khalaq Al-Insan Allama Al-Bayan. Look at the translation. Rahman gave knowledge of the Quran. Khalaq al-insan, he created insan. Allamahu al-bayan, and then he gave him knowledge of bayan, how to speak. I have a cup here, it's empty. I have water. Can I enjoy the water without the cup? No. Pretend not from the water. First I have to have the cup, and then I have to have the water. The cup comes first, then the water. Okay, pretend it's not in here. Pretend it's in an ocean. Maybe it's not a cup, maybe it's my hand. Can I drink water without the apparatus? Can you seek knowledge without the ability to speak? You get a baby and you take him to university and you say, here, teach him. The professor or the admin staff will say, I think he needs to be referred to the psychiatric ward. How can we educate? So no matter how clever this child you think is, he doesn't even know how to speak. So bayan comes first, isn't it? Bayan, the ability to speak. But you can only speak if you're created, isn't it? Could you speak before you were created? Huh? No. You couldn't speak before you were created. So first comes creation, then comes speech, then comes knowledge. The sequence is creation, speech, knowledge. But in this verse, it's totally the opposite way around. Why? Because this verse is not about me and you. Ladies and gentlemen, this verse is about Muhammadur Rasulullah. Everyone says Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ar-Rahman Allama Al-Quran. Beloved, Rahman gave you knowledge of Quran. Then Khalaq Al-Insan. Then he created you as insan. Phir paida kiya insan. Then Allamahu Al-Bayan. Then he gave you the knowledge of bayan. Knowledge was first, then he was created. How is that possible? We were born, then we learned language, then we were educated. But this formula doesn't apply to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Allah gave him knowledge even before he was created. Why? Because the Sahaba asked him, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when were you a prophet? He said, Kuntu nabiyya wa adamu bayna al-ma'i wa teen, or ma'i wa jasad, or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. My nabuwwah existed when Adam alayhi salam wasn't even created. Can I just ask you a question, by the way? What does Nabi mean? What is the meaning of the word Nabi? Anyone? Can anyone tell me? What is Ma mana an-nabiyyun? What is Nabi? What is the meaning of Nabi? Huh? Messenger, prophet. That's not really a translation. Nabi, usko कहते हैं. Nabi is someone. मैं लंबी तारीफ नहीं करता. ये जो गैब की खबर है ना, this is fine. This is a good translation. But let's keep it simple. Nabi वो है इल्म देने वाला. Ilm, the one who gives knowledge. The one who gives, खबर इल्म ही है ना? खबर इल्म ही है ना? तो ये तर्जुमा भी ठीक है. वैसे आला हज़रत का तर्जुमा ज़्यादा बेहतर है गैर की खबर देने वाला. लेकिन मैं अगर बात समझाने के लिए the one who gives knowledge. This is not the literal meaning of Nabi. I'm just translating it for your ease of convenience. The one who transmits knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ said, Kuntu Nabiyyam wa Adamu bayn. I was a prophet even when Adam wasn't even created. Even the mitti wasn't come. I was a Nabi then. Yani mere paas to us waqt bhi ilm tha. I had knowledge at that time. So, my knowledge and your knowledge is contingent upon our bayan, is contingent upon our creation. But the knowledge of Muhammad Rasulullah is not contingent upon his body. Why? He was educated even before he came in this world. Now you understand the sequence. Ar-Rahmanu allama al-Quran. He gave knowledge of the Quran even before the Prophet ﷺ was born. Then, khalaq al-insan. This is milad from the Quran. Al-insan, if you look at Muhaddithin, Qurtubi, Ibn Kasir, Bagwi, Durr Mansur, all of them have written Al-insan. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Ar-Rahman wa allama al-Quran. Ar-Rahman gave knowledge of Quran. Then, khalaq al-insan. Then he did the milad of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then, allamahu al-bayan. Why the sequence? ताकि कोई ये ना समझे कि आए तो फिर इल्म आया, आए समझ आई तो फिर इल्म आया। पता चल जाए मेरे और आपके महबूब को तो इस दुनिया में पैदा होने से पहले ही अल्लाह ने सारा इल्म अता फरमा दिया। Allah gave knowledge to my beloved and your beloved of everything, not just of how to read namaz, how to give zakat, how to do hajj. Yes, this is all of this Shariah is only 500 or 501 verses. What about the rest of the Quran? वो कहाँ जाएगा? वहाँ हाँ उलमा कहते हैं बहुत मुतशाबिहात है, इसको छोड़ दो। अल्लाह और रसूल आलम, अगर अल्लाह और रसूल आलम है तो फिर इसको नाज़िल क्यों किया? लितुबय्यिना लिन्नासि मा नुज़्ज़िला लहुम. So now we need to go to the Prophet ﷺ and say, Ya Rasulullah, can you tell us about this Quran? We want to know answers. We want to know why we were born. We want to know who we are, where we came from, where we're going. Because in the society that we live today, people say to us, "Hame tana dete hain," that you follow religion. Religion is a pie in the sky when you die. Yeah, just do your rituals and that's it. That's what religion is about. No, Islam is not ritual. Islam is a reality. And shall I give you a glimpse of that reality? You come and we celebrate Milad because we think it's ibadat. But ask Jalaluddin Suyuti, rahimahumullah, what Milad was for him. He says, for me, my object in my life was to get the knowledge of this Quran. But that wasn't the only objective. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah, people used to seek his company because Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal knew the Quran. He was a master of the knowledge of Quran. But Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal used to seek the company of a madman. People used to call him mad. And Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal used to seek his company. His name was Zunnun Misri. And someone asked, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, you have knowledge of Quran, you are an alim, and you seek the company of a madman? किसी पागल के पीछे आप भागते हैं? आपके पास कुरान का इल्म है, हदीस का इल्म है, आपको उसके पीछे भागने की क्या जरूरत है? Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal said, my brothers, you seek my company because I know the book of Allah. But I seek his company because he knows Allah. You seek my company because I know the words of Rasulullah. I seek his company because he knows Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. क्या फायदा किताब का इल्म अगर हो जाए और अगर जिसकी किताब है उसका इल्म ना हो? What's the use of all of this knowledge? इल्म का ढेर इकट्ठा किया हुआ है, लेकिन कोई पता नहीं, गधों की तरह जिंदगी बसर करते हैं, न आने का पता न जाने का पता. The Quran says, मसलुल लज़ीना हुम्मिलुत तौरात सुम्मा लम यहमिलुहा कमसलिल हिमार. ये जो इल्म के दावे करने वाले हैं, they're like donkeys. They don't know what to do with their knowledge. इल्म आके बयान कर के कोई पता नहीं कहाँ से शुरू हुआ, कहाँ से खत्म हुआ. Why? Because for them knowledge is just weight. इल्म तो शैतान के पास भी था, लेकिन उसका इल्म कहाँ तक उसको ले गया. आज खबीस मरदूद हुआ बैठा है, इल्म नहीं बचा सका उसको. और हम कहते हैं हम नमाज पढ़ लेंगे, हम रोजा रख लेंगे, शायद हम बच जाएंगे. शैतान में कोई कमी नहीं की थी. 70,000 years of worship. ना इल्म में कमी थी, ना अमल में कमी थी. किस चीज में कमी थी? What was wrong? What went wrong? This is the question we need to ask us. So, if we don't know the creator of the book, if we don't know the author of this book, then what is the use of our life if we just base it on a set of rituals? No. We need to ask questions. And where are we going to get those answers from? We can't pick up the Quran and get those answers, but we can get the answers from someone who has knowledge of all of the Quran, and his name is my master and your master, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
आप कहेंगे, देखिए साहब, I think what you're saying sounds very good, but let's be practical here. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us knowledge of namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, and if we go to our alim sahab and he says to us, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, and I think that's enough. I think let's call it a day there. अब ये जो मसला है कि हर बात रसूलुल्लाह से पूछो, ask everything from रसूलुल्लाह, ये क्या? आप थक तो नहीं गए? You're not tired, are you? I think if you're tired, oh my goodness, it's 9 o'clock. I think should I just close my lecture there?
No, we're not.
Please say.
No.
Now, if you're tired, I'm not going to force you. Should I carry on just for a little bit?
Yes.
Read through Sharif. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina
Muhammad wa ali sayyidina Muhammad.
What was I saying?
You're correct.
हम कुछ ही बोले, तुम समझो हम ना जाते हैं, हम तो सारी जाने हैं. हाँ, what was I saying just now? Chalo, I will torture you. We say, or your alim says, go to the Quran, namaz ka tarika, roze ka tarika, hajj ka tarika, zakat ka tarika. Bas, chup karo. Finished. There has to be more. Ek din, my Prophet and your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Masjid al-Nabawi mein mimbar pe khade hue. This hadith which I am about to narrate to you is brought by many muhaddithin. Imam Bukhari, Muslim, Baghawi, Ibn Majah, Nisai, all of them bring this hadith. Qama Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam yawman fina ba'd al-asr. Ek din Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam khade hue, he stood up amongst the audience in Masjid al-Nabawi, yawman, one day, ba'd al-asr, after asr namaz. He stood up. And he gave a lecture. And what was the lecture? Ma taraka shay'in ila yawm al-qiyamah. In one lecture which he gave, hatta tatla' ash-shams ala ru'us al-nakhl wa atraf al-haytan. Until the time of Maghrib, Asr और Maghrib के दरमियान एक ऐसा बाज दिया, एक ऐसी तकरीर की, एक ऐसा खुतबा दिया, he gave such a speech कि from then till the day of judgment जितना भी इल्म था सारा बता दिया. He gave all knowledge. How can you encapsulate so much knowledge between Asr and Maghrib? This is the style of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not every knowledge simply is extracted from words. Kabhi kabhi ilm nazar se bhi muntaqil hota hai. Sometimes ilm transfers through nazar, through tawajjuh. I'm not going to go into detail. kabhi phir sahi. But for now, I just want to divert your attention on the hadith. He said he gained knowledge from now to the day of judgment. Then, when Maghrib arrived, he made an announcement. He said, what was his announcement? Saluni amma shi'tum. Ask whatever question you want to ask me. अब अगर आपका कोई आलिम ये ऐलान करे कि जो भाइयों जिसने जो सवाल पूछना है पूछो, अब अगर कोई खड़ा होकर कहे कि मौलाना जरा बताइएगा ये आजकल प्ले स्टेशन की नई गेम कौन सी है? If your alim stands up and says after a lecture, Islamic lecture, any questions, brothers and sisters? Someone stands up and says, can you tell me the latest games on PlayStation? He will say, वैसे हराम नहीं है अगर आलिम प्ले स्टेशन का इल्म रखे. It's fine, no problem. Again, it's fine. Imam Shafi used to play chess. It's not a problem as long as it doesn't disturb your life or your routine in your life. Definitely, it's fine. अच्छा, आप पूछेंगे, पागल, मौलाना साहब पूछे क्वेश्चन साहब ये सवाल को पूछने वाला और वो भी पब्लिक में. Now, the Prophet ﷺ says, Saluni amma shi'tum. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. One person stands up. What's his question? His question isn't, can you tell me how to read namaz? Can you tell me how to do hajj? No. The question is, Ya Rasulullah, man abi, who is my father? Man abi, who is my father? Bataiye, is this knowledge of the future or is this knowledge of the past? Oh, come on, that's not a difficult question. Who is my father? Is this knowledge of the future or is this knowledge of the past? It's the past, isn't it? Is this knowledge of the Zahir or is this knowledge of the Batin? अगर आज ये झगड़ा पड़ जाए कि इसका अब्बा कौन है, तो कोर्ट में कैसे फैसला होता है? अम्मा को नहीं बुलाया जाता. क्या करें भाई, अभी चीनी से ताजा ताजा है. वो गेम लगता है ना उर्दू का. वो क्या कहते हैं? If there is a dispute in the court as to who is the father, the judge is not going to call the mother. Give evidence, who's the father? In the society that we live today, there are a lot of mothers who say, I don't know who the father is. How do you work out paternity? Forensic science comes to the rescue. DNA. Is DNA knowledge of the Zahir or of the Batin? Batin. Knowledge of the past, knowledge of the Batin. The questioner says, Man Abi. The Prophet ﷺ doesn't say, Dekho mujhe puchhe wala sawal hai. Or he says, 1 minute, Jibreel, just come and tell me. No. As soon as he asks the question, the Prophet ﷺ spontaneously responds, your father, Abuka Huzaifa, your father is so and so. What does that tell you about the knowledge of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? His knowledge is not simply limited to the external. His knowledge is of the internal. His knowledge isn't only of the future. His knowledge is also of the past. यानी अगर मैं ये कहूँ अव्वल का भी इल्म, आखिर का भी इल्म, ज़ाहिर का भी इल्म और बातिन का भी इल्म, there is no knowledge which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't have. And just to put a cherry on the top, cream on the cake, Allah says, in case कोई पगला ये सोचे कि आप भूल गए, आपको पता नहीं था, अल्लाह फरमाता है अल्लम कमा लम तकुन तालम माबूद, जो नहीं जानते थे वो भी हमने बता दिया आपको. That which you didn't know, we told you everything. ताकि कोई ये ना, but someone will say, well, he forgot, he didn't know, I forgot. No. The reason why he forgot wasn't because the way me and you forget because we forget. That's an error. The Prophet ﷺ forgot on purpose. Why? Harisun alaykum bil mu'mineen. He is very, his ummah's interest is very dear to him. He knew my ummah will forget. He knew my ummah will make mistakes. So he made mistakes on purpose. ताकि कोई गलती करे तो गलती भी सुन्नत मुस्तफा में शामिल हो जाए. So that if somebody did a mistake, the angel will write, हाँ गलती तो थी लेकिन ये भी सुन्नत मुस्तफा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. This is also part of the sunnah. ताकि सुन्नत पे अमल करेगा गलती करके तो उसको सवाब मिलेगा. He'll get sawab for that. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ. Otherwise, he knew ma kana wa ma yakun. He knew knowledge of everything. So the Prophet ﷺ's announcement is Saluni, and that announcement isn't only to the Sahaba, that announcement isn't only to the Tabi'een, that announcement isn't only to the Tabat Tabi'een, that announcement is to every human being till the Day of Judgment. That's why I was telling you, my dear brothers, Jalaluddin Suyuti didn't just used to say, Ya Nabi Salam Alayka for Sawab. He didn't used to come to Milad for Sawab. He didn't used to just read Salah for Sawab. For him, Islam, what was Islam? What was Deen? What was all of this ruwa all about? He says, what is Deen? Allazi yaduru ma hawla nabiyya sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Deen kya hai? What is Deen? It revolves around the personality of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jo kiya, wo Deen hai. Jo nahi kiya, wo Deen nahi hai. It revolves around. To Rasul ki talab, the pursuit of Rasulullah is Deen. That's why the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, when we come to Milad, we pursue our relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. हमें सवाब से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. क्यों? सवाब आता भी है, जाता भी है, लेकिन हमें लेना देना है तो इस चीज से है कि we have a relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. क्यों? अल्लाह नमाज कबूल करे या ना करे उसकी मर्जी है. ज़कात कबूल करे ना करे उसकी मर्जी है. हज कबूल करे ना करे उसकी मर्जी है. He may or may not accept namaz. He may or may not accept zakat. But we know that when we celebrate Milad or otherwise, when we read Salatu Salam, that brings us closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That proximity is a source of our salvation, is a guarantee of our salvation in this dunya and in the hereafter. That is why Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti says, I read what I read, I do what I do for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti says, even though I came many hundred years after the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but with these naked eyes, I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 72 times. Ladies and gentlemen, those Marxists who say that religion is a pie in the sky when you die, unko पूछो कि Jalaluddin Suyuti ने क्या कहा कि I saw with these naked eyes. कैसे? Why? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, he who sees me in the dream once. How many times? Once. जिसने मुझे एक मर्तबा अपनी ख्वाब में देखा, इमाम बुखारी narrates, मरने से पहले, before he dies, he will see me with these naked eyes. The Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That is why we do qasr of Salatu Salam, because we know that our only guarantee in this dunya, in the qabr and in the hashr, is our relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the objective. The stronger our relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the more when we have questions, the question will come and the answer will come from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we do not need to approach him. Mullah Jami says, we do not need to approach him. When we create a relationship with us, then he will approach us. May Allah give me and you the ability to strengthen our relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If that relationship is not strengthened, then our dunya is of no real consequences. If that relationship doesn't exist, then our deen is just a set of rituals which just revolves around monotony. But if we have a relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, हमारी दीन भी बदल जाएगी, हमारी दुनिया भी बदल जाएगी. Our deen will change,
and our dunya will change. Let us pray on this occasion. Oh Allah, strengthen that relationship. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ.
سبحان الله والحمد